Popular media loves to paint women as crazy stiletto hoarders. But have you seen how just about any teenage boy treats his Jordans? Better than he treats his mother, most likely. There just seems to be something about shoes. Because some coaches love them so much they don't want to take them off even when they're indoors. I mean, you could argue that the most important inventions in human history are the wheel or aspirin. But will those keep your feet warm and allow you to walk on terrains beyond the naked foot's potential? I mean, yeah, okay, the wheel could, but can it hide away your toes from the scary foot fetishists on the internet? That's what I thought. Shoes are an amazing invention, so in this week's video I want to go over the history, importance, and evolution of footwear. And find out, at what point did we go from, I don't know, wearing beavers on our feet so that our toes don't freeze and fall off, to this. Fashion. Fashion. Your mom wants you to pick up the groceries. Fashion. You know, there's a lot of shoe options to choose from today, but based on tried and tested comfort, sometimes we all just go back to our roots. And I'm not talking about the people that wear those overpriced, ugly as hell frog shoes which make their toes all weird. No, I mean what you most often go for when your mom needs help with the groceries now, Bailey. Ding. Yes, I mean this. This is the closest thing to the first ever shoes, the OGs. And these shoes fundamentally changed our bodies and possibly shaped modern society as a whole. Some people do claim it's more natural for us to walk barefoot. And those people are correct, but also wrong in believing it's better. Because hey, it's more natural for us to die of influenza at age 12, but it's not better, is it? So shut up, Kaczynski, and listen to the story of when shoes were first discovered. The first evidence of shoe is over 30,000 years old. It's not an actual physical shoe, but observations on the development of human bones. See, wearing shoes changes and reduces strain on the bones found in the feet, allowing you to walk longer and go just about anywhere. Studies on foot anatomy and several ancient skeletons show a general change between 26,000 and 30,000 years ago. The smaller toe bones began to appear less robust due to what is believed to be the support given by footwear. And the skeletons that show these changes were first found in excavations near Beijing, China. But no shoes were discovered in the vicinity. And that's probably because the first shoes were made of animals and plants that decayed with time. But well-preserved woven sandals from as early as 7,000 years ago have been found in Egypt, India, and America. We even have evidence that Egyptian commoners wore shoes made of plaited hemp or papyrus, while those with high social standing enjoyed essentially the same materials, but their shoes were pointed upwards. There's something about pointy shoes that made the rich lose their shit in the past. I bet Ford would know why, but I don't. Point is, they were very popular with those who could afford them. Just in the tomb of King Tut, there were 93 separate items or fragments of footwear, which included some very elaborately decorated flip-flops. So we can safely assume that shoes at that point had transitioned from being just a tool to indicators for one's social standing. You know, like most things you wear. In Rome, there were also different shoe styles for the different classes. They were just different types of sandals, but a carved tongue indicated the wearer was a free man. High tops meant you're a general, and whatever this pointless sliver is, meant you were a woman. Ew. But the next big transitional period for the shoe was fast approaching, when Christianity became the official religion of Rome and Christianity went, toes! Open-toe sandals were seen as immodest by the Catholic Church, and that was the end of the sandal for the next 1,000 years for this whole continent. This brings us to the Middle Ages. It was pre-plague Europe times. Shoes were quite plain, leather, wood, or leather covering a wooden sole. They sometimes had embroidery on them or some sort of carving, but those poor flea-ridden bastards essentially had nothing cool to wear. Until the fleas attacked, that is. I specified pre-Black Plague because there is such a difference in shoe fashion before and after the Black Death. It's presumed the shifts in shoemaking trends came about after the plague because most of the people making the shoes, well, died during it. However, the newly wealthy still wanted some extravagance. I nearly died. Life is too precious to be wearing these ugly shoes. They're so just not pointy. Post-Black Plague, we got the infamous pointy shoes. The pointier the shoe, the sexier you are. In some cases, they were made so long and pointy that people attached strings to them just so they could actually be able to walk. Based, W-Riz, bring that trend back. But unlike me, King Henry IV was not a fan of the style, and he even made a law not to be this extra. According to this new law, nobility was permitted 2 foot lengths, merchants 1 foot length, and peasants half. Other popular medieval shoes were klompen, the all-wooden shoe of Holland, pattens, which were wooden half shoes with a leather strap at the back, and sabots, which were the traditional French peasant shoe. Legend has it that the angry workers used their sabots to damage factory machinery, leading to the word sabotage. Not to be confused with the 15th century British sabaton. And no, these boots were not made for walking. They were meant for horseback riding, and the end can be used for poking other horses and is actually detachable. Another addition that was rising in popularity was the heel. The first heel was believed to come from Persia. Wealthy men wore them to give them additional height. In Spain, there were in essence platforms that existed to keep a woman's feet elevated from the dirty streets. But there were many platform shoes that existed centuries before, dating as far back as 3400 BC, and some of those are still worn today, like the traditional Eastern shoe, the guetta. They served a similar purpose. The two teeth on the guetta raised your feet 4 to 5 centimeters, but there were also single-tooth ones that monks most often wore as they were better for scaling mountains. A more extreme version of that are the wooden silver-plated kabkabs that women in Lebanon wore between the 13th and 17th century. But in Europe, the fashion aspect of the heel and the appeal of longer legs didn't come until later. More heels to mention are the Japanese okobo worn by trainee geisha called maiko, and chopins. These were worn by women in Italy 16th and 17th century as an extravagant platform that will make you stand out from the crowd and stand up an extra 5 inches, until sex workers began wearing them to be noticed and they fell out of favor. But both genders enjoyed the extra bit of height and the confidence of the clack. Like, you tell me who slayed harder. Additionally, it was a practical aspect of the shoe. Once the heel became too worn out, it could simply be switched while the sole could remain undamaged. Same with the buckle, which came around at a similar time. And it wasn't really until the 16th century when high heels started to be seen as more feminine. There were no Kardashians or whatever, but there were royals. And when Catherine de' Medici married the Duke of New Orleans in her riding heels, the higher heels started being associated with being more ladylike. Anyways, then the Industrial Revolution hit. Shoes were no longer a sacred craft and luxury. They were just shoes, dude. Everyone started wearing them, even the ooey gooey peasants that used to just wear wooden slabs as shoes or simply wrap their feet in linen. They all had shoes now. And that was a problem for the upper class. Shoes had to become even more extreme so they could remain a status symbol. More gems, high quality leathers, solid gold buckles instead of laces. If poor people have these, we should have these. Yeah, fair. Mass production also led to standardization. Before the 19th century, there was no difference between the left and the right shoe. In Europe, that is. Egyptians knew what was up when they were making their shoes. But you know, there was also no kindergarten back then where you could be judged for not making that distinction between the left and right shoe. You were kind of expected to mold the left and right just for wearing them. While exact measurements started being used for producing the different shoes for each foot in 1817. And these measurements are still used today. I know, some guy, Edward I, decided 3 barley corns equal to 1 inch. And now, a shoe that measures 12 inches is just a size 12 shoe. But imagine you're 5 going to Sport Depot with your mom and the lady whips up a bag of barley corns to measure your soles like, oh, you've grown a barley corn and a half since last time. Anyways, the first shoe factory opened in Massachusetts in the 18th century, and after the Napoleonic Wars, the focus shifted from making military shoes to making different styles for men and women. Then came different types of shoes, like sneakers. Around the late 1860s, athletic shoes that were being produced were all just formal leather shoes with spikes at the bottom. The Boston Journal first referred to rubber sole expert basketball shoes as sneakers in 1887, because since they didn't make any clacking noises and people wearing them could sneak up on you. Also, rubber sole expert basketball shoes sounds like something you could buy from AliExpress if the term sneaker was trademarked. But when we think of sports shoes, the brand that comes to mind is probably Nike. But Nike came about in 1974 with their trademark waffle maker soles. Yes, they were actually inspired by waffles. But the first basketball shoe to gain a massive devoted following was actually Converse. They were founded all the way back in 1908, and thanks to the endorsement from celebrity basketball player Chuck Taylor, gained the widespread success, hence the name Chucks. And here I thought they were popular only because of boy bands. In my opinion, since the idea to make shoes with rubber soles, there hasn't really been a next step in shoe evolution. So I guess that's where we are now. And before I end this really long video, I want to thank the people that have been around for nearly 100 videos now. I have been officially monetized by YouTube, and I have earned $5 which I will be spending on a cool calendar. But more importantly, I am in the top 0.1% of Motley Crue listeners. How sick is that? Suck on that, Rob. And yeah, that's all. Bye.